my fans? I've been gone for a while. I had to take myself a little trip, a little business trip, but I am back with all this crazy fight news that we got going on. Good God, did a lot of stuff happen over the week. I mean, so many fight announcements, so many things to talk about. Where do we even begin? Well, you know what? Let's go get this all out there. Let's get it all taken care of. First up, let's go with Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury, February 26th over there in Saudi Arabia. Guys, finally this fight is coming together. This is gonna be the third time this fight was booked. We got Tommy Fury pulled out both times. I believe the first time he was sick with some kind of chest infection, and then now he ended up not being able to fulfill the second fight. The second time they tried to put this together, because of the fact that he couldn't travel, his family couldn't travel out of the country. The United Kingdom, the UK, they couldn't travel out of there. So they ended up trying to they booked a different fight for Jake Paul. That ended up falling through. He ended up fighting Anderson Silva not that long ago. And now here we are. It's going to happen February 26th. I believe that's on a Saturday, if I'm correct. But yes, that fight is taking place. That fight is going down. It is going to be happening. I mean, guys, what are we going to do with that? What are we going to do regarding that? Everyone's been talking to Jake Paul, talking about how they want him to see fight an actual boxer, how they want to see him actually actually face someone that's actually been boxing. You know, and I'm right there with them. I want to see him take on boxing and take an actual boxer, because his whole career he's fought a non-MMA fighter and all MMA fighters. Regardless of whether these guys have striking or not, it's really hard to give Jake Paul his credit, any kind of credit, because of the simple fact that he is fighting guys who never really trained boxing. Now, they may have boxing in their camp, but they never been die-hard boxing people. You know, it's not like what boxers do. When a boxer decides to become a boxer in his career, he trains boxing from the time he was a kid to the time he was a teenager to a young adult to an adult, all his life. No jiu-jitsu, no wrestling, no kickboxing, nothing like that. Just pure hands only. And that's something that Jake Paul has not yet to face. And that is something he's finally going to face with Tommy Fury. Now, I know a lot of people are saying Tommy Fury isn't an actual legit boxer. He has not been boxing all his life and this is that. Technically, he has. He comes from a boxing family. He comes from a fighting family. And yeah, maybe he hasn't really taken it super serious in his career in his earlier days and is starting to do it. And yeah, his resume doesn't speak a lot for himself, but it's still an actual boxer, and it's a good way to get to where Jake Paul really wants to be in his career. Because we look at the long list of fighters that Jake Paul has faced, very few of them were at a good age where they weren't too old, and a lot of his fighters were too old. You got Ben Askren, you got Tyron Woodley, you got Anderson Silva. And then I believe Tommy Fury is in his early 20s, mid-20s, somewhere around there. Basically relatively the exact same age as Jake Paul. And then it's about fighting the same size. Welterweights for Tyron Woodley and Ben Askren, they were both welterweights in the UFC. 170 pounders. Jake Paul walks around about 200 pounds, maybe 185. Anywhere between that frame. He fought Anderson Silva at that weight class as well, but be it as it may, again, Anderson Silva was a little past his prime, way past his prime, as a matter of fact. The guy was walking around 46, 47 years old. So with that being said, now we got Tommy Fury, who is a natural bigger guy as well. So that is also another good plus. So now, I'm not saying that this should be a definitely tough fight. I do feel Jake Paul has it, and I will break it down as we get closer. But this is definitely a good step in the right direction for Jake Paul, for him to finally take it serious with his boxing. That's a really good step towards the direction that we want to see boxing go, especially for his career. If he wants to be taken serious as an actual fighter, as an actual champion, then yeah, this would be the best bet for him. Other news, we got Artur Beterbiev beating Anthony Yarde in a showcase back in Saturday. And yes, this guy's just a beast. This guy's a Terminator. I mean, 19 knockouts, 19 wins. Basically all of them knockouts. Like I just said, this guy is indestructible. I really want to see this guy go against Dimitri Bivol, the guy that beat Canelo Alvarez. And I would like to see what happens. If he could literally dominate Dimitri Bivol like he's been doing to the rest of his 19 victims, then yes, this would be one hell of a unification belt. I know Canelo Alvarez had mentioned he may want to face Beterbiev. Excuse me if I'm saying that name wrong. Beterbiev. better beef, excuse me. That would be one hell of a fight as well. That would be one hell of a fight, but I don't think Canelo has the proper size for it. If Canelo really wanted to take the light heavyweight serious, he would need to take time off, get away from the super middleweights for a while, and get himself into an actual weight training camp to bulk up and move up in size and be at that light heavyweight, stature, that frame, because he just still has that 160-pound, 168-pound frame where it's just too hard to hurt these guys at light heavyweight. Even in that light heavyweight fight that he won against Sergey Kovalev a couple years back, I believe it was 2019, I want to say. Yeah, he did win by knockout, but he really wasn't winning that fight clearly. Sergey Kovalev was actually in that fight as well, giving it to him a little bit. And it's not because Sergey was at his prime. He was a little past his prime, but still relatively dangerous, very relatively dangerous. It's just because Canelo couldn't really hurt him too much with his jabs and his power shots. He was able to connect with really one good power shot, which knocked out Sergey Kovalev. We'd never seen that happen, even with Andre Ward. Andre Ward wasn't even able to do that, and even his knockout over Sergey Kovalev was very controversial. Personally, in my opinion, it doesn't even look like considered to be a knockout. He hurt Sergey, but I wouldn't consider that a stoppage either. When they fought each other, that's just my personal opinion. The way it just looked. So with that being said, if Canelo Alvarez really wants to try to get in there with this guy, this Arturo Beterbiev, yeah, he's gonna need to put on some size, because this guy's an animal. This guy's a beast. I can actually see this guy moving up to heavyweight and giving these guys at heavyweight some problems. I know a few other fighters that he could be facing out there, but he is one hell of a monster, one hell of a destruction guy. Definitely got to keep your eye out for him. There have been some recent fight announcements for April. I believe this is UFC 287. We have the main event, which just so happens to be Anderson Silva. Anderson Silva. I'm thinking. We got Israel Adesanya, who is our new generation Anderson Silva, going against Alex Pereira, or Pereira, or however you want to say it. Part 4. Technically part 2 in MMA, but part 4 overall, because they fought each other twice in kickboxing. We broke this down back when they first had their fight again, back in November at MSG. And yeah, these guys went toe-to-toe with each other, and that was one hell of a fight. That first round, you could have gave it to anybody. I know Alex Pereira had some really good exchanges within the bout, in the first 4 rounds. But then, Izzy was just doing what Izzy does best. He was picking him apart little by little. He was winning the fight relatively easy. It wasn't like a super competitive fight. But you can see Alex Pereira moving in, using the size, using the strength, which he is huge. He is a monster. He is really big for that division. It is such a surprise that he's actually even able to make middleweight. 185. He looks like he could be a natural light heavyweight. I would not be surprised if one day we even see him at heavyweight, honestly. That's how monster size he is. So with that being said, yeah, they finally got this fight, part 4. Alex Pereira, I was just breaking down that fight, and third one they had, Izzy was winning that fight relatively close, relatively easy. Then fourth round comes around, Alex Pereira hurts Izzy and stops him in the 4th round. It was, I believe it was the 4th, or it might have been even in the 5th round. Forgive me on that one. But yeah, he was pretty much beating Alex Pereira. Alex Pereira used that size, used that strength, and got the stoppage and got the win. So here we are in the rematch, MMA, not kickboxing. This is going to be interesting. Honestly, you do deserve, Israel Adesanya definitely does deserve a rematch. The guy's been busy. The guy's been nonstop fighting, for the championship. Ever since he won the championship, the interim championship against Kelvin Gastelum, then he won the actual championship from Robert Whittaker. He's just been on a roll. He's been constantly going over and over, fight after fight after fight after fight. He fought against guys like Paulo Costa, Marvin Vettori, Jared Cannonier, Robert Whittaker again. The list goes on and on. He even challenged for the light heavyweight championship, Jan Blachowicz. So he's honestly been so busy. He's never really had time to take off. And he's never even really been hurt, honestly. So he's always just constantly going and going and going. I honestly am a little surprised. I would have hoped for Izzy to just take a break a little bit. ease back, go away, step away for a while, let your mind, let your body rest. Because, like I said, he's been a very, very active champion in his career. So it would have been really good and really nice for him to take some time for himself. Take some time for himself. But no, he is getting a rematch in April, UFC 287, and this is gonna be a very fun fight. Again, this is gonna be a very action fight. Can Israel Adesanya beat this guy? Because again, he had two chances to beat him in kickboxing and lost them both. He had a chance to beat him in MMA and he lost that one too. So this is a very, very a lot is gonna be at stake for Izzy. You know, we remember before Alex Pereira, he was being relatively criticized as a boring fighter, which in some senses he kind of was. You know, he was just, pretty much outpointing fighters, not really doing anything spectacular, not really doing anything that was just stood out that made us really like a Anderson Silva or like even George St. Pierre. Like we didn't see a whole lot coming from Israel, but he still got the job done. So you can't knock him for that. But at the end of the day, we still, as fans, would love to see just a little bit more action. And if a guy's not supposed to be in there with you, we would love to see what exactly you can do. He just played it safe too much. I feel like that's what happened, and that what played against him in that Alex Pereira fight. He tried to go in forward a little bit because he had that reputation already, 3 fights in a row. Where it was just relatively boring. You know, the Robert Whittaker, the Marvin Vettori, the Jared Cannonier, just not a whole lot was actually happening. So he just kept getting criticized and criticized. So I always felt like going into that Alex Pereira fight, he wanted to prove something. He wanted to prove that he could beat this guy and prove that he was not a boring fighter, which in turn, it was a very action-packed fight, don't get me wrong. Much better, much more entertaining than his last few fights put together, but he ended up losing. So with this fight, I feel like he's gonna play it back to being a little safe because he definitely wants to win. He's probably not gonna care how he wins. He just really wants to win. He wants to get that victory. He wants to prove that Alex Pereira that no, you do not got my number. I know I could beat you, which he could. I really do feel like Israel Adesanya could, but Alex Pereira just might have Israel Adesanya's number. Alex Pereira, it just has that size, has the length, has the reach, has the power to really give Israel Adesanya problems in the middleweight division, unlike very many other people. Because when Israel Adesanya went up to light heavyweight, that's what his problem was. He wasn't the biggest, and his power really wasn't hurting very much people. He only faced one person, Jan Blachowicz, and that power that he was getting, receiving from Jan Blachowicz was hurting him and was making things difficult for him. So yeah, I really feel like Alex Pereira really has a good, strong chance to regain that title shot. Regain that title that he got from Israel Adesanya. But I'm really much looking forward to that. And on that same card, we got the highly anticipated return of Jorge Masvidal. UFC 287. He's going against Gilbert Burns, the man that pretty much just dominated and submitted Neil Magny back at UFC, 283. Flawless performance by Gilbert Burns. They've been talking about making this fight since last year. I remember there was some highly anticipation. There was some anticipation of these two guys mixing it together. They've been talking to each other. Talking crap to each other back and forth, and they finally are mixing things up. I am super excited for this one. This is going to be a very action-packed fight because Gilbert Burns, he loves to strike. He is a very action-packed fighter. You remember him in that Hamzat Chimaev fight. That was one definitely candidate for Fighter of the Year. So I'm very pumped for this fight. Then it's unfortunate for Jorge Masvidal. He's been on the wrong side of the win side. He has not had a win since Nate Diaz 2019. He's went against Jorge Masvidal. He went against Kamaru Usman twice, for the title and ended up losing. And then he went against his arch rival Colby Covington last year in March and lost to that one as well. So this will be a good chance for Jorge Masvidal to possibly get back in the win column, but it's not going to be easy because Gilbert Burns is a very, very tough fighter, and so is Jorge Masvidal. Not very many people have good stoppages over Jorge Masvidal. You got Kamaru Usman, who just so happens to have the only knockout win over Jorge Masvidal, and that was one hell of a knockout. Probably a knockout of the year, if I'm correct on that one. That was a beautiful knockout. But, it's still very hard and very difficult to stop and have your way with Jorge Masvidal. So it's definitely going to be a very, very fun fight and very much anticipated fight. And I can see if a possible win with Jorge Masvidal and a possible win that retains Leon Edwards retaining his championship against a Kamaru Usman at UFC 286 in London a couple of weeks prior to UFC 287, then we could possibly see that match. Jorge Masvidal versus Leon Edwards. The three-piece and a soda could finally possibly get answered. I would not mind seeing that fight. I would not mind whatsoever seeing that fight. I would definitely mind it if we saw it now and if it took place now. Being the fact that, again, he just had 3 title fights and a number 1 contender fight and lost all 3. I'm talking about Jorge Masvidal. But this is a good step up for Jorge Masvidal. This is a good chance to get himself back in the win column, but it's not going to be easy, like I said. There was also another boxing fight announcement that I didn't get a chance to talk about. I talked about it last year. I talked about the potential of this fight being made, but it is going to be made March 25th. We got David Benavidez versus Caleb Plant, a really good grudge match in the 168-pound division. The super middleweight division. You know, I know they've been campaigning David Benavidez to face Canelo Alvarez. He is a rising up and comer. He is definitely making a name for himself in the ranks and such. But this is a really good step up. Him and Caleb Plant, David Benavidez and Caleb Plant have some history together. They have a lot of bad blood together. If you guys search them up, they've been talking trash to each other for years. I believe they even had a scuffle at a gym about 4 years ago. That's how far it goes back. These guys have been talking trash to each other for a very long time, looking at each other from a cage from a very long time. Long time. So this is actually a very good chance for them to squash their beef and settle it in the ring, and let's see who is the better 168-pound champion right here, or challenger right here. And this would actually be a good chance for David Benavidez to actually call out Canelo and to show Canelo, hey, you should face me. You should go to toe-to-toe with me, because that's always been my argument. That, yeah, I'm not denying that David Benavidez isn't a possible good champion or a possible good fighter, but it doesn't have what Canelo's looking for. Canelo's looking for belts. Canelo's looking for paydays. And unfortunately, it could be a good payday because, yeah, a lot of people want to see it, but there's just no real good upside for Canelo. Like, what is he winning? What is he getting out of this? He's taking all the risk, but not really a whole lot of reward. You know, sure, he could make a big payday and make a big cashbacks, but at the end of the day, it's like he has the money. You're already talking to a guy who has hundreds of millions in the bank already. So it's not really necessarily he's looking for it, but if he gets it, that's great. But there also has to be more added to it. You know, that's why he goes for the light heavyweights, because he wants to try to be the undisputed light heavyweight champion up there. You know, Dmitry Bivol and Artur Beterbiev are not pay-per-view stars. So it's like he has nothing really to gain up there outside of the fact that he could be another undisputed champion at a different weight class, like he was able to do 154, 160, 168, now possibly at 175. He has a belt at 175, or did, but, you know, he wants to try to go for all of them, and he wants to get that rematch against Dmitry Bivol. So this is a good chance for David Benavidez to really make a name for himself in 168, because he is making a pretty big name for himself, but he's relatively unknown to the outside of the hardcore boxing fans. You know, this is a good way to get himself more mainstream. You know, go in there against more contenders. You know, me personally, I would love to see him against a Triple G and to show what he could do at Triple G. And, like, say, for example, if he were to stop a Triple G and really put a really good beating on Triple G like nobody ever has. Because, again, nobody's ever dropped Triple G. No one's ever stopped Triple G. No one's ever really dominated Triple G. So if he was able to do something like that to a Triple G, I'm talking about David Benavidez, that would be one hell of a way to get Canelo Alvarez's attention. Definitely. There's no doubt about it. Right now, he's only had a few names under his belt. I know he put on a good beating against David Lemieux. That's good. It was relatively, definitely good. A very good stoppage for him. But still, I would love to see more names underneath that record, on that record, to see what he can do against a guy like Canelo Alvarez. Well, there you guys have it. That was a lot of news, a lot of breaking news. I want to bring this all to you guys in one video, so you have the time to listen to it, so you guys can enjoy it, so you guys get a chance to like really have fun with this news. Guys, there's so much to even talk about. There's so much more to discuss. I will be breaking more news down. I'm staying in town now, and I'm definitely going to make things happen and make more videos for you guys to watch it. Guys, let me know in the comments on what do you think about all this news that we just broke. Let me know what is your favorite fight that's coming up. What's your favorite fight announcement? Who do you think is going to be fighting? Who do you think is going to be winning? Oh my God, just so much to look forward to in this new year of 2023. It's already being a jam-packed year. I'm super excited for it. Let me know in the comments, guys, how excited you are as well. Like, subscribe, hit that notification button, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video.